Sports Show. Time to talk about Jeff Motley, an absolute legend who unfortunately passed away, and our condolences to Jeff's family, of course.
I was a bit disappointed in the... I suppose they haven't really had a chance to do anything yet, but there was no mention of him in Victoria. A guy like that passing away that did so much for football in Australia, really.
Well, I think compare it to Ron Barassi.
Yeah, Barassi, a big name. But
Motley's just as big. I agree. Anyway, Greg Anderson joins us in the studio. Greg, how are you, mate?
Not too bad, thanks.
Mate, you spent some time with Motts.
I
worked with him for a while, mate. Hell of a bloke.
Just a fantastic man, and obviously really sorely missed because he, even right towards the end, he just had such a great strength about him when you're talking to him about football and talking about life in general, and even when he was really struggling with his eyesight, it was just such a beautiful person, and he didn't forget too much about his footy, let me tell you. He right to the very end, he knew all the kicks and all the marks and all his premierships and all his All-Australians and all that sort of stuff. So, but just a real legend of the club. And I was very lucky because my father and Jeff went to school together. So he had a bit of an influence, from a very early age, and not knowing too much about his son Peter, who was a couple of years older than me, but Dad and Jeff were very good friends, so we. Very, very sad.
Do you know what got me about Jeff Motley? They're fairly strict down at Alberton when you start to talk basics at football, especially a bloke like Foss Williams. Yeah. Very, extremely strict people. And you don't go off the beaten track, whatever. Yep. But he was the only one that was allowed, and I mean allowed, to do the drop kick. Jeff Motley would do the drop kick at every game, and he could do it with impunity. No problem at all. There was no issue. If anybody else did it, it was
Well, you had to be able to kick him, if you could do it perfectly like Jeff could have, you do him, when you're looking at nine premierships, and one of those as a coach, of course. And I do agree with what you're saying about Ron Barassi was very, very sad, and the whole football world stopped. And I really felt that Jeff deserved that as well. He was IM as well, and his contribution to football was really, when you look at it, probably second massive. To none. Yeah. As not just as a player and a coach, but even after with players like Nathan Buckley and Craig Bradley and the number of players that I know that used to ring him and just lean on his shoulder when things were going a bit hard. He would really help you as a former great of the game.
There's a lot of talk about the 6 in a row, which he was part of. Yep. There was only a few guys that did that, played in all 6. He is the only player, Jeff Motley's the only player that played in the 9 from the 54 through 65. He's the only player that played in all 9.
Talk about longevity amazing. As the injuries in those days, and rehab. They didn't really, you didn't really have all these experts to help you to, on your rehabilitation after games or injuries. But his body just must have been like a German tank. Yeah. It didn't falter. It was just
that's true.
100 miles an hour every single time.
Got him at the end. Those bow legs got him at the end. Right? The bow legs certainly got him. Yeah. I was fortunate. I worked with Jeff for quite a while. It was Motley and Greer Sports Store then, Jeff had a physical presence about him that often was intimidating to people. And, some guys walk into a room and straight away, it's Jeff Motley, and it's kind of. Yet he was such an approachable bloke, and he had a great sense of humour that people didn't often get to see with Jeff.
Well, I met Jeff at a barbecue with Mum and Dad, and it was one of the first times I've been around to his place at Blackwood, and a few steaks and sausages on the barbie, and I was really in awe. I mean, I was, because I don't think at stage I'd started playing league footy, and when I was basically shaking, knowing that I'm with the great Jeff Motley, and just to sit down and talk football, and just like I just caught my breath a little bit, because he just was so wonderful about how to help you just balance yourself in life, and it's a process. And I thought he was fantastic that way, just step by step, don't jump ahead, just, step by step, and he was wonderful, yeah.
The sacrifice that Jeff made for Peter that was staggering, because that was a horrible accident, we all know.
We all know that,
that Peter was in, and Peter was a champion. I don't throw that word around very loosely, but that guy would have been an absolute star in Victoria without a problem, without the crash. But you know, what Jeff did for Peter, which your dad would do, I suspect, but, you know, that was a horrible, horrible injury that he had. And I don't think Peter would have survived without Jeff. I really don't. It was an amazing thing to watch. I was playing golf one day. I don't play every day. I need days that end in Y. But we were down at McCracken, and on the fairway next to me there, going that way, was another group. We're going down this fairway, and I had a look out there, and they're a fair way away. But I watched a guy, one-handed, pick out a 3-wood out of his bag and just hit an amazing golf shot. Like it's a golf shot. It was a beautiful golf shot. And I looked and I thought, that's Peter Motley. Now, he was playing golf.
I've played with him a couple of times.
It's staggering.
It's just amazing, and his scores are great. He plays a couple of times a week. He just loves it, and you're so right to have the support of Mrs. Motley and Jeff and Anita for Peter. You would say was priceless.
I don't know who started that. Sorry, mate. I don't know who the guy's name, but I know it was the Blackwood professional. That said one day, no, Peter, you're going to play golf, and I'm going to go out and play with you. And the pro went out with him and played one-handed with him.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't happen. Yeah. That just doesn't happen.
Oh, look, as a football legend, he's going to be sort of sorely missed. But when you look at his career and everything's inevitable, and I know he's been very, very ill for the last sort of 6 months, and to recap of his life in football is just staggering. You know, and his life after playing football was just as influential to so many players and so many sports people.
Yes.
And playing in different sports.
It's sad that we remember people more after they're gone instead of celebrating and enjoying them while they're here, isn't it? You know, and then we go, we probably should have done that. I should say this though, that Juanita has been phenomenal.
She has been.
His daughter Juanita has been amazing in her care of Jeff through that period. And of course, the wife was a phenomenal netballer and basketballer. His wife. So it's an unbelievable sporting family in there as well. Yeah. But Jeff was kind of the head of it. You know, and
no question. He's still very tough. I mean, he was tough.
Everyone will have some stories about
man.
Mott's. I'll have some great stories, and there's 2 classics that, and I'm sure you guys might have heard. I know the viewers might not have. Mott's and Neil Curley were great mates, and they used to go and play golf fairly regularly.
Yes.
And one day, and they practical jokers, both of them. So Mott's has grabbed an exploding golf ball, and when Curls isn't looking, he's swapped the balls over because Curls has hit it and it's exploded. He jumped back, and they've gone out the next week. And as Mott's is getting ready to play his shot, Curls has pulled out the double barrel shotgun and shot the golf ball. The boys got a little bit competitive. Mott's had bought this new Statesman DeVille. It was like at that time was the car to have with the sunroof, which was kind of state of the art at the time. Yeah. He's had it a couple of weeks and he pulls it up out the front of the sports store, King William Street. He said, hey mate, you need to drop this around to Holden. It's got to get serviced. The sunroof's bent. So he said, they know about it, take it round there. So I take it round to the guys and they go, what the hell's happened to the sunroof? How does the sunroof get bent? So I don't know, I'm just bringing the car around for Jeff. Yeah, okay, because it was Jeff, it was clearly a fault in the car. Yeah, so I got back, I said to Motts, he said, how'd it go? I said, the blokes were looking at it, they're trying to work out how you get a dent in the sunroof. I said, how do you get a dent in the sunroof? He goes, Kills and I were shooting rabbits. We're chasing them through the paddock and we're sitting in the sunroof shooting them while someone's driving. I'm going, I'm pretty sure that's not what the Statesman DeVille's made for, mate, going through rock-cling paddock. So he had a great sense of humour, had great mates and great friendship. He just, I know I'm throwing the word great a lot, but
Jeff played 28 state games. I mean, that, in what an era as well of great tough football.
And some of the players he would have stood.
Oh, exactly, in the VFL and also in the WAFL. But Pete, I remember a few years ago, Peter said, well, I think I've got my dad now. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, apparently they'd named a race after him down at Adelaide Oval, but I've got an oval named after me. So, both very, very funny.
You never knew how big lovely Jeff was until you sat next to him at a function at Alberton. That's when you know how big Jeff Motley is.
Physically, but the way he commanded the room.
Just the way that people would come to Jeff Motley. Yeah. Just the way that people would
come to him.
You know, you'd be sitting there. And I sat next to Jeff many, many times, a million times at functions, and he would have constant people just walking past, stopping.
Yeah.
Walking past,
Stopping.
You know, you go, oh, sorry, you're not talking to me, no. How's Jeff?
Just a legend.
He had that presence about him.
Okay, a couple of functions to put in later. Russell was at one table on this side, Jeff at the table on that side. I actually saw people confused as to which way they should go first. Will I go
first?
I'm sure that you were at a lunch we did upstairs with when we were talking about Russell here, where Bruce Abernathy and you were up there. I don't think it was you that needed a signature.
Oh, it was me.
And we didn't have a pen. We did not have a texter.
Right.
And Russell put his hand in his pocket, pulled out a texter, and signed it.
He always carries one.
Put it back again. And I said, only Russell Ebert would carry a texter.
Quickly, we've got to wrap it up, mate.
Just want to say, on for all the great South Australian football fans, that his funeral was Monday the 9th of October at 11:30am at Albion Oval.
Bingo.
So
Monday,
it's going to
9th of October.
Yep, at 9th of October, 11:30 at Albion Oval, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
so,
it is. I thought it would be at Albion. Yeah.
And always great to catch up with you, mate. You're going to
Thanks,
cover some
guys.
things, but it's great to remember Motts and the type of bloke he was.
Yeah.
Stay with us still, a bit more to come.